Hi, I'm Dave,
And I'm Paul.
and we're going to challenge you to transform your financial future through the principles of the most profitable business in the world, banking.
We believe everyone should be involved in two businesses, the business that you're in and the banking business. Everyday people can replicate what bankers have been doing for centuries to leverage capital and build wealth through private lending.
Join us as we uncover the truths about money, expose lies and myths, and flip conventional financial advice on its head. Here we go. All right, we're back. And look at this. We got one more person. We've increased our host count by 50%. So what's up, Paul? That's 50%, right? From 2 to 3 is 50% increase. And Paul's got a big question mark over his head. He doesn't get it.
No, I was just I
Math.
totally get it. Yeah, money's not math. Good thing.
Yeah, good thing.
I'd be failing. But anyway, who do we have over there? He's
We've
got a
got-
good name.
He does. This might get confusing. We got the Paul and Paul show, and Dave's here too. But we got this is our very first guest. This is a monumental episode. We've had 80 some episodes, and we've never had a guest. And lo and behold, we welcome our first one live in person.
I am excited about this.
Good.
Yes,
Good.
thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you. I can't tell you how appreciative I am of this. I'm a big fan of you guys, and
Likewise.
I don't even know where to start with
Well, let's-
the accolades here.
Let's start with introducing who you are. This is
Yeah.
Paul Horsley, an IBC practitioner who I'll tell a little quick backstory. I reached out when I got into this business 5 years ago. I searched the IBC practitioner for somebody who was local. And turns out Paul was the closest guy to me. And he was a pilot. So I flew for a major airline for a number of years, and that'll be part of his backstory. Actually, he flew for more than one major airline. And I reached out to Paul, and we got together. We got coffee at Caribou, and we've been friends ever since. It was a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
So thanks for meeting me that day
That's
for
what
coffee.
happened.
That was awesome.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
You know, it brings me great joy that you have been so successful at what you do, and the lives that you've changed it's unbelievable how many of those and what's to come in the future, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk to Paul and look at you guys now. It's
Yeah.
just awesome. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. You guys are, movers and shakers and, guiding lights in this industry, and it's awesome.
Well, and you're a
It's
mover
awesome.
and shaker too in so many different areas. So we got pilot, you got avid pheasant hunter, sniper,
Mhm.
one shot, one kill pheasant hunter right here.
Yeah.
IBC practitioner, connector extraordinaire. I think you know more people than I've ever met in my life.
Mhm.
He's
And-
like Kevin Bacon, like,
yeah, there's like 2 degrees of separation between Paul and anybody in this world.
Mhm.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Mhm.
Yeah. And he's an author.
Oh yeah.
So Paul's even written a book that we both have copies of. It's over there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's
Don't
on
worry
my-
about it.
It's
on
We're
my
not here for that. We're not here for that.
I do want to show this though, because this Why the Rich Don't Die Broke by S. Paul Horsley. Can I say your first name?
You can.
Sherman Paul Horsley.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
So that's a great book, super easy read, and boils it down to really easy to understand. So thanks for writing that. We need more material like that
Mhm.
around.
And
this.
it tells a real life story of how Paul stumbled upon the infinite banking concept too, which is so important.
Well, let's hear a little bit more about that story. So I'd like to hear kind of how you stumbled upon infinite banking and why this was the solution to
Sure.
whatever problems you experienced.
Sure. So back in the late 2000s, I think 2008, I was flying for the local major airline here in Minneapolis. And it was a very difficult time. If you remember what happened in 2008, we had the great financial, crisis. And the airline went through bankruptcy. Well, it just so happened that another airline went through bankruptcy at the same time. And we had a 2-pilot income. My wife is also a pilot for that company. And they pretty much just eviscerated our pension at that time. And they were both just excellent, and they just kind of went away. We have a little stipend left for us, but that was when we really, looked at each other and said, there's got to be a better way. We have 401ks, and that was okay at the time, but we knew something was wrong with the system. And fortunately, one day, a friend of ours asked us to come over to the house. He wanted to share something with us, and we're open-minded for different financial ideas and thoughts. And the next thing you know, we're deep into the conversation about infinite banking, which in my whole life I had never heard of. And come to find out that really only a few people even know about as far as percentages go in the world. So it was a pretty life-changing day for both myself and my wife. So yeah.
How long did it take you to grasp? Because infinite banking is caught, not taught, right? We say that all the time, and some people just never catch it.
Yep.
How long did it take you to grasp onto this?
Oh, no, it wasn't right away, but it took us about 3 attempts to talk through this with the person that was showing it to us. And it wasn't my friend who ultimately explained the whole concept to us, but it was another practitioner. And the reason why it took 3 attempts was that practitioner had other motives. And so my wife and I went through three iterations with him, and then we finally grabbed hold of it and we moved forward. We knew it was the right thing to do. We just didn't fully understand it, but we trusted our friend who had turned us on to the whole concept. So after that, it was just a period of just diving in and learning about it. But truthfully, the way you guys explain it each week, and I'm big fans. You guys have a great podcast, and I think you're in your 80? You're in the 80s, right?
In the 80s.
Yeah, you're rocking and rolling, and like I said, it makes me super happy that you're really crushing this thing, because there's a lot of people that need this. And so once we got going in this, I just started sharing it with everybody that I flew with. And I'm not flying anymore, but I was, when I was flying, I'd share it with everybody. And I got so good at just explaining how this thing rolled that I thought, man, I need to dig deeper. So I reached out to the Nash Institute and flew down and met Nelson. And he essentially he's been mentoring me ever since. Even today, after he graduated a couple of years ago, he still mentors me, and I still have a lot of messages on my phone that
cool.
he left, and I just enjoy listening to those every once in a while too. I'm prayerful that I'm never going to lose those. So yeah,
that's awesome. I actually told my boys the weed eater story last night. So
oh, that one's the best.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So they got a good kick out of that. But yeah, so, that's great. And you were really lucky and fortunate to be mentored by Nelson in person.
Mm-hmm.
I got to meet him one time in person. That one time that I went to the first think tank as your guest.
Mm-hmm.
So the guest of you and Michelle, your wife. So that was amazing. And I like how you say you're still being mentored by him, because that doesn't have to stop just because he's gone.
It never will stop. And if you're serious about infinite banking, and I'm sure you are, because you're part of this podcast, it's an ongoing education, and constantly. My favorite comment, or the thing that he said, my favorite quote, is rethink your thinking. Constantly, every day, rethink your thinking, because this thing applies in life in so many different ways. It really does. It's awesome.
Yeah, no doubt. And then the opportunities. So I like talking about opportunities. You've introduced opportunities to me and Paul. Paul and I have introduced opportunities to each other that are going to be pretty spectacular.
Yeah,
that have been and will be. So that's one of my favorite whole things about this.
One of my favorite quotes is on the back of my book, and I'm going to read it instead of just call it off the top of my head. But it goes like this. It says, imagine a financial instrument that you owned 100% of, that continued to grow with a guarantee, compounding every cent of principal, interest, and dividends for life, tax-free, along with full liquidity as needed, no matter what, and an insured death benefit at the end of life for your heirs. How much money would you want to put into something like this? A little or a lot? And I'm talking, it's like when you figure this system out, it's like move the cheese into it, because there's nothing like capital. Capital.
Yep.
That's a great quote. I'm going to steal that. So
Okay.
can I quote you? I'm going to put you on my.
We're going to put it on our websites.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please do. Knock yourself out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's when people cross the chasm and they have that paradigm shift and realize that's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
I think that's one of my.
Yeah. The folks they're in a system that they work hard for and they know nothing about when they move their money into it. It just takes a little bit of time to kind of learn the system. And you've got two great mentors sitting here every week feeding you guys more information, more tidbits, more thinking differently, rethinking your thinking. And they're doing it every week. I mean, go back and listen to podcast 1 all the way through. It's you're going to come a long way.
Well, we've learned from the best. We stand on the shoulders of giants, as they say.
We all do,
right?
I mean, we all stand on Nelson's shoulders.
Yeah, we do,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question. I was talking to a woman that I'm mentoring in the infinite banking concept. She lives down the road here in Virginia, and I quote. I find myself just quoting the book all the time. I was like, well, Nelson had this to say about universal life, or he had this to say about this, or he had this to say, these are his rules. And the beauty of it, it's all so simple, but it makes so much sense, and it's applicable to everything.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's funny. I had a conversation about 2 weeks ago with a guy, first conversation he's ever had about infinite banking. And I took notes, and at the end of my notes, because I looked at them today before I met with him a second time, but my notes said, natural pessimist, doesn't see the point and all that. Well, it turns out over the last couple of weeks, he's been listening to podcasts and reading and getting more educated. And this second conversation, after this conversation, we're into the application stage, because it's caught, not taught. I didn't teach this stuff to him. I think he had a nagging feeling that there's something to this. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to find out. So doing the research, going down the rabbit hole, and then finally saying, oh, okay, now I get it. Like you said, it takes time.
I don't think it can be taught.
It's caught.
It's caught.
Here's a great little story. I'd say about 6 weeks ago, I had to have my septic system cleaned. And this guy rolls in his truck. Did I share this with you before? It's a funny story.
You got that truck up top of that hill?
Yeah, the truck up at the top of the hill. So he rolls in, looks like a brand new truck. And he gets out and we start talking. I'm walking around with him while he's doing his deal, and he gets done. And I said, hey, do you read books? And he goes, nah, a little bit, not much. He goes, but my wife does. And I said, awesome. What does she like to read? And he goes, he says, oh, self-development books and things like that. And I go, great. I said, I wrote a book. I said, how about I just give you a copy, take it home and let her read it? I said, nothing else. She might learn something, right? He goes, well, okay. He goes, what's it about? I said, it's about money and kind of an alternative system. And he just sat there and paused, and he goes, I've fired 2 financial advisors in the last 5 years. He goes, I'm about to fire the 3rd one. And I go, well, why is that? And he goes, well, I've been looking for this thing called infinite banking for so long. He goes, and it's probably been 5-6 years. And he goes, and nobody knows or understands it. And I just looked at him and I said, well, it's your lucky day. I said, that's great. About. And he just couldn't believe it. And I went and got the book and I handed it to him. I go, here you go. Read it. I said, you read the book, you come back, we'll talk. And he's like, you're going to get your money back that you paid me today. I go, yeah, I am, in more than one way, because you could say that I used infinite banking to pay him, so to speak. But sure. What I'm saying is there's people out there that that are looking for the solution. And once they know what the problem is, it's easy to understand what the solution is. It's like, so there you go.
I think that's what we try to do here is expose that problem. I think everybody knows there's a problem. They may just not know what the problem is.
They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. Another, something I say in my book, just to help you kind of see what the problem is with every other financial tool out there, 401k, IRA, savings account, I don't care what it is. This is a great analogy. So taxation is a problem, right? So I use the analogy with a piece of corn, and you have a cob of corn, and on that cob there are many kernels of corn, right? So I'll pick a kernel of corn off that cob, and I'll hold it in one hand, and I'll hold the cob in the other hand, and I'll ask the person, or the people that I see, I go, which one of these do you want to pay tax on, and which one don't you want to pay tax on? And it's an interesting question, because not everybody sees it, even that little simplistic thing. And ultimately, you want to pay tax on the one seed, not the harvest. But when I reveal that with the 401k or an IRA, they're paying tax on the whole cob, the growth of whatever that is. Why not take the seed after tax money, right, and go deploy it in an infinite banking or banking policies and be out of the taxation issue with that whole cob of corn? It only makes sense.
It does. And especially when, when does that harvest, when is that reaped?
That's exactly right.
It's reaped in retirement, what Nelson calls your passive income years, when you don't have an active income. Mm-hmm. And most people can't go out and generate more income at that point. Right. So now you're paying an unknown tax rate in an unknown tax bracket.
On an unknown amount.
On an unknown amount, when you don't have any ability to generate anything additional.
And you've given that money to somebody to manage all the way through your life. So I think it was in a recent podcast you guys talked about, it's locked up. You don't have access to that money. And when you do, you may need it, and it may be on a downswing. And every dollar you take out of that system reduces the ability to make money in the system. Right. And in infinite banking, what happens when you use the money in the system? Does it affect the growth?
Growing. No. Still keeps growing.
Yep. Brilliant. When you know.
This is a phenomenal thing. You guys just keep pounding away here and, alert the masses.
Yeah. Well, we'll put that book link in the show notes as well, because if you need an easy to understand and digest book, that's it. Super easy.
But call these guys. They're the ones. They're the guys.
And then call us, this guy, you got so much stuff going on. But you're involved in so many things. But the one thing I know you will always do is drop everything just to help somebody or answer their questions or guide them in the right direction.
Sure.
So you can't go wrong with any IBC practitioner is really who you should be going to.
Yeah. And you've got two of the best, and I'm telling you, call them.
And me.
And call them. Yeah. Oh.
Ew. There's so few of us anyway, right? When you look at, I think active last year there was only around 200.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that had maintained their membership.
Yeah.
In a country of how many? 330, 40 million?
Yeah.
I mean,
growing by 2 million a day.
Yep. And but good quality. I love going to the think tank every year and seeing both you guys. And of course, I feel like in that room has to be some of the best life insurance agents that have ever existed.
And really some of the brightest financial minds.
And financial minds. I mean, forget life insurance. That's the product they sell. But a lot of them are full service, like you said, financial advisors as well. And they do all the things.
Yeah.
I don't want to do all the things. I just want to do IBC.
Yeah. I want to do this very well. I want to go back to one thing. You talked about a pension. Now, most people, when they think pension, they think guarantees. Mm-hmm. But you lost 2 pensions between you and Michelle.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I mean, I may have a military pension coming my way. And I think of all pensions, that one may be the most likely to survive because it's probably political suicide for anybody to get rid of that. But I still am not 100. I would not bet my life that that's going to be there for until the day I die, or at least won't be reduced over time. Right. At some point. So I think it's really important to note you've lived through that. You had a pension that you thought you could just bank on. That's part of your retirement. So now you're free to go spend more money now. Right. Because you have that pension in place and then it's gone. Like,
and that brings up another point. You know, we're in a pretty big inflationary time in this world. And your savings, your IRA, your 401k, those things are future dollars, right? At some point down the road, whether it's in a year or 30 years. So the question is, when is it better to utilize those dollars, today or wait on some unknown amount down the road? And the answer is what? Use them today.
You know what the value is.
But how do you do it? With IBC. You can use those dollars today and they're still appreciating through your whole life. So your dollar has more value today than it will tomorrow. And I don't even know what the inflation rate is, but it certainly isn't what they're telling us it is.
No,
because they've taken
not even close.
The core items out of the picture.
Yeah, never mind what gas and food. Is that the 2 things they don't? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just you look at housing alone, which is everyone's most substantial cost in their life is housing, right?
Housing, food, and gas. Yep.
And then later in life, it's probably some, throw health in there, right? I think you spend 90% of what you're going to spend on healthcare is going to be in your last couple of years of life, right?
Yep.
But yeah, you just around here, people, it was bonkers around here. People paying $140,000 over asking when I moved here.
Over asking,
and the asking was already high.
Yeah, and the banks would approve it. Appraisers.
Oh, no doubt.
2%,
2.5%.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Wouldn't it be nice though if you're making those kind of offers, if you need a place to live, to have access to that cash without needing the bank's approval?
It's a simple paper request. You're number 1.
Yep,
that's right.
That Paul's going to have it.
Yeah, and there were a lot of. When I moved here, there was a lot of cash buyers too. And that was forcing out people that were VA loan people, a lot of military folks that come here, or just normal people. Like, who has $700,000 cash sitting around to buy a house? I mean, not that many people. Yeah. Right. That work for the government. So, yeah.
Almost like the future's unknown, like you always say.
Crazy. Yeah. And we're about to get into another, I don't know, it's a different cause maybe, although not really, right? Crazy inflation caused by what? Low interest rates. Too low. It's not going to be the subprime problem, but it's going to be whatever. But it's coming, I think. And I think that people that are flush with cash, like, I'm not worried at all. I've got my policies.
Cash.
That's right. I'm ready for an opportunity. And I think, and Dave and I have said this before on the podcast, Paul, is that, when you're well capitalized, opportunities will find you, and they're going to find you in a good economy, whatever that means, or in a bad economy, right? So,
and when you're well capitalized, you get to make decisions from a position of strength. Maybe we both know somebody who maybe got involved in policies that weren't designed correctly, or we just heard about it in our mastermind group today. Somebody was talking about it, and then I hear the same thing from one of Paul's good friends. Things that just weren't set up to stand the test of time, right. and weren't set up responsibly. So, not all policies are created equal.
Had that early cash value, I bet, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
That's why it's important to have somebody who is well-versed and taught and lives and breathes it and is a product of the product. And these guys are. These guys totally are.
I think I just put my 10th policy in force. So
giddy up.
Yeah. I got that big convertible term policy in underwriting. So
nice.
Have that on standby.
I gotta do mine.
Yeah, get on it, man.
Yet. I've got it completed. I just gotta submit it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
This has been awesome.
It's what a pleasure. Thank you.
So
Paul,
good to have you as our first guest.
Is Dave making you like pay for dinner and stuff, even though you're a guest, or what?
No, I don't think it's.
He has to pay by spending time with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we got. Yeah,
We'll be here for
Yeah,
a few more hours, I think.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I look forward to catching up on the details, guys.
Okay.
all right. Well, everybody, until next time. Do you know it? Do you know the sign off?
Go for it.
Until next time, control your capital.
Control your
Or
capital.
somebody else will.
That's right. See you guys.
See ya.
Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. If you'd like to have a conversation with us to see how you can become your own banker, or if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to tackle on a future episode, please send us an email to davidandpaul@theibcguys.com.
And subscribe and leave us a review if you're on Apple. Follow and leave us a 5-star review if you're on Spotify. And please share this with your friends. We'll see you next week.